Okay, this week our story is called Jose Born to Dance. And if you notice our vocabulary words, most of them are centered around performances and the theater and the stage. So number one is debut, okay? That T on the end is silent. So this word is pronounced debut. A performing artist is always excited at his or her debut or first public show. So here we can see here, remember I gave you this trick at the beginning of the year. If it has a comma in the word or, you're probably going to see another way to describe it. So the definition's right here. Or first public show. So a debut is the first time that you are either like maybe it's your first YouTube video or it's your first job as an actress, and it's like your first movie, or it's just your first time reading a line in a school play. Okay, so that's your debut, your first time. Number two is stubborn. Performers with a stubborn desire to succeed will continue to work hard. So you might have heard the word stubborn before. Something that is stubborn is lasting and not easily changed. So if you have a stubborn family member, sometimes people describe like their grandpas or someone in their family as stubborn because they've made up their mind and that's what they're gonna do and you can't change it for them. Number three is permission. This musician is allowed to play in the subway. She was given permission. So if someone is given permission, he or she is allowed to do something. Okay, so she was given permission to play there. She just didn't go and set up. She had to ask first and get permission to be able to do that. Number four is hauling. When a band is traveling, workers or hauling equipment from city to city. All right, so hauling. You can see them in the picture. Hauling is pulling or carrying or pushing. So they're moving those things. Think of like, have you guys seen the U-Haul trucks? It literally has the word haul in it, U-Haul. So that's when you do the moving. You are the one moving the furniture and things for the U-Haul. Number five, mournful. The mournful songs of some singers are more memorable than their happy ones. So if it's either or, if it says that they're happy, then I'm thinking mournful means the opposite. So something that is mournful is sad and serious. Number six, towered. Performers on stilts have always towered above their audiences. So when I think of towered, I think of tower and how super tall they are. So if something towered over something else, it stood above it. Number seven, triumph. So that PH makes the F sound. Triumph. Becoming a star is a triumph or victory most performing artists long for. You see the word or? So triumph means victory. Triumph or victory. So becoming a star is what all the performers want to end up being a star. A triumph is a victory or success. Number eight is discouraged. Some musicians become discouraged or disappointed after a poor performance. So he looks sad because he didn't have a good performance. He is discouraged or disappointed. He's disappointed in himself. Number nine is toured. A performer who has toured or traveled has gained new fans in every location. So toured also means traveled. If you go on a tour of a place you've never been before, that's usually they're showing you different highlights and different places, like say for instance the Eiffel Tower. If you went to Paris, you would travel and you would go on a tour, would be a little different, I guess. So toured or traveled, that's how I remember it. Number 10, our last one is border. Touring performers often cross an international border such as this one. So this border, when I think of border, I think of like the edges around like the boards or something. So the border is kind of like that, except we're dealing with a much larger space than just a bulletin board. So a border is a boundary or an edge. It's really good example for us because Parkersburg is so close to Ohio that our border is cut through by the Ohio River. So we can easily see the boundary of West Virginia to Ohio. So that would be a border. Another border could be like when you cross down into another country like Mexico. We have a border that is the boundary for our country. So these performers often cross international, which means they go to those other countries. And here, if you look on Think Central, and you can see that they're actually looking at the Mexico border. So what I want you to do this week is define your 10 words. After you have written them all out on your page, or maybe two, I want you to take a picture of it with your iPad, and you'll notice in the reading folder for Monday, there is a spot for you to upload that picture showing me that you did your work for a grade today. One thing I do want to point out about the vocabulary is I want to remind you guys that when you're looking up the words, if you're not always going to have the ending in the glossary, and your glossary is on Think Central. So if you can't find the word hauling, haul might be in there. Take off the ing. Same with towered. If the ed isn't on there and it's tower, that's still the same word, okay? Towered. What about toured? You can take off the ed. Ed just means that happened in the past. Okay, so those might be the only three with endings. Oh, and discouraged. So take off the D. Discouraged should be in your glossary. All right, if you have any questions, let me know.